was how do neurons in my brain work? Okay. Now, if you're like, Ava, I've never heard of a neuron before, that's okay, because we're going to talk about it today. We're going to go through everything. We're going to make it really simple. But this is what someone asked. So we're going to take a look at it and see how our brains actually work and how what you see and what you think, they all work together. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start here, guys. What is the nervous system? All right, now it's not just, oh, I'm really nervous about this test I have to take. Something different. It's a group of cells that bunch together to form nerves. So remember we talked about cells a couple weeks back, which are those little, if you look at your skin, your whole body, it's a bunch of little microscopic functioning units that have a job to do and that they help you be you. They help you complete all your body functions. There are some cells that are specific to the nervous system. They bunch together to form these things called nerves. Okay, and if you think about a nerve, has anyone ever hit their funny bone? Do you know what I'm talking about? You hit your elbow on something that really hurts.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, so that you're feeling is your nerves, right? You can't really see your nerves, you feel them when sometimes those actions happen. But nerves, they relay messages from your brain down to your spinal cord, which is like your back, that spinal cord. That's what they do. They send messages from up here to everywhere else in your body. Okay. And basically, when you think about nerves, nerves are controlling, when you move your arm, when you raise your head, when you turn left, when you turn right, that's what nerves are actually controlling. So there's a lot of things that they do. Now, there's two different parts of the nervous system we're going to talk about. So we talk about nerves. Here's our kind of picture of this guy with all his nerves. But the two parts are the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Okay. The central nervous system, that's over here on the right. Okay. And central nervous system is kind of like if you're imagining a tree, it's kind of like the trunk of the tree. It is your brain and your spine. So you see it kind of highlighted in pink here. It's going to be, it controls how your body really, how it moves, how it functions, but also your sense of taste, your sense of smell, touch. Those things are all controlled by the central nervous system, by brain and spine. They work to control those things. Now, over here on the left, guys, we have what we call the peripheral nervous system, which if you think about this one on the right, the central as like the tree trunk, peripheral is the branches. Those are the branches that are spreading out, and they have a couple more specific jobs, and they really control how your body responds to changes, inside your body and outside your body. That's what those guys are responsible for. So you have down here in this peripheral, we see peripheral nervous system. It controls your internal organs, your blood vessels. It also controls your skin, your joints, your bones. The peripheral nervous system does a lot with that. And it's not just working alone. Central and peripheral, they both work together to help you be you, to help you do all the things that you need to do and, have the skeletal system, the muscles, everything working together at once so you can walk or you can run. So those are really basic examples, but there's so much. You wouldn't even realize how much your nerves control, which is cool. And over here, if you're wondering, this is a heart. That's a real picture of a real human heart. It's not necessarily heart-shaped, but that's real. So kind of cool. Okay, so now let's get a little bit deeper here. So I said that, you have these, cells that control, talking about the nervous system. So really, there's a very special cell that your nervous system has, a very special cell for nerves that don't really look like your other cells. The other cells we talked about were kind of round. They had a little center. They're shaped like a little egg. Neurons are what we call nerve cells. These are the guys that make up your nervous system. And they have three parts to them. And this is what we're looking at here. This pink part, this yellow part, and this purple part. So, I'm sorry, actually pink, blue, and purple. So first, let's start in the blue, guys, right here. This little like blue pinky area, this like center here, we call it the cell body, which makes sense. It's like the center of the neuron. It has DNA, it has genetic information. It really gives that neuron the instructions it needs to function and to, have structure and energy. It's very important. It's kind of like this, the control center, you can say. Okay, now you have this thing right here, this the C underneath these yellow, like looks like little hot dog buns. There's this pink, like cord kind of coming out. That's what we call an axon. Okay, and if these words are all going over your head, if they're really complicated, that's okay. I'm just gonna introduce them to you. So the axon is a long wire that projects out of the cell body. And what the axon does is that it sends electrical signals from neuron to neuron. Okay, because your neurons, it's not just like you have one neuron and it does everything. There's billions of neurons and they're each communicating with each other. And to communicate with each other, they have to send each other a message. It's like me talking to you, right? If I sit here like this, you're not going to know what I'm trying to tell you. I had to talk to get my words across. Same with neurons. Neurons have to send their signals, and they do that through this axon, okay? The axon, it's usually coated in this substance called myelin. You see this myelin sheath, these yellow hot dog buns. And what myelin does is it makes it faster and it allows them to send their signals faster. And how do myelin is something you can actually build. And you build myelin by doing things the same way again and again and again. So for instance, I have a Rubik's Cube here. And if I were to solve my Rubik's Cube, let's say I did it the same 10 steps every single time. Okay, cool, I solved it. Now, if I do that 10 times, well, by the 10th time, I'm going to be a lot faster at it, right? It's like practice makes perfect. I'm sure you all heard that before. But it's true, because what that does is every time I do that, I'm building a myelin sheath around that pathway. So the more I do, the more myelin I'm building, and the faster I can do it, and the more precise I can do it, because I'm sending faster signals. So that's really a neat part about this axon. It kind of helps us make those connections we need in our brain. And then the last thing, guys, is this thing called the dendrite. And these are these little, like, I don't know, they kind of look like spikes coming out of the cell body. And the dendrite, what'd you say?
They kind of look like the tree branches.
Oh yeah, they do. They're kind of like reminds me of like a spooky tree, like kind of spooky tree branches. So that's our dendrite, guys. And if this is kind of like the channel that we send, axons we send our messages through, dendrite is like the mailbox. It takes all the messages. Okay. They receive electrical signals from other neurons. So, this dendrite would be getting a signal from another neuron. And it determines if the cell should do anything about it. It says, neuron, should we turn on? Should we send another signal, or should we just chill, hang out? We don't really need to do anything. It receives the messages, right? So basically the neuron, guys, is just a big thing. It's kind of like the post office. It sends messages to people, it receives messages, and sometimes it's closed, sometimes it's open. That's really all it is. And that's how we kind of get messages going between our different brain cells. Any questions so far? Anybody? No? Okay, let's keep going. So I want to show you this picture. I said this myelin stuff is kind of working. So this is how myelin works. If you look here on the right, guys, you see its projection and how we're wrapping that axon. That's myelin. So if you were to do something, let's say you're practicing an instrument and you played one measure of the song, well, you're wrapping your axon in myelin. And you can keep building myelin the more you practice it. And then the faster that connection is going to be made. So it's pretty cool. And look over here on the left, guys, with the myelin here. The top one is coated in myelin. And see how fast that blue light goes through it compared to the one below? It's a lot faster, right? It's happening for a reason. It's because myelin is kind of like accelerating it. It makes it really speedy and easy to transfer signals. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about how do neurons communicate with each other, right? I mentioned the signals, and you're probably like, well, what do you mean signals? Like, how does that work? How do signals get from one place to another? So there's that electrical signal, okay? There's kind of like an electric spark that gets sent in between your neurons, but there's also these things called neurotransmitters, and those are working at the same time. So you have like the electrical signal and these neurotransmitters. And really what those neurotransmitters do, it seems like a fancy word, but all they do is they tell the cell to turn on or to turn off. That's pretty much it. It's kind of like a light switch. They don't have that big of a job, but they're important because we have to know, do we knock down the next domino or not? Like, when do we stop knocking down dominoes? So here we go. Neurotransmitters, guys, these bind on to really specific pieces. It's kind of like a lock and a key. So when a neuron receives when it sends a neurotransmission, like when it receives a neurotransmission, it kind of just fits right in, and it tells that neuron what to do. Does it tell it to send a new signal out, or is it just going to stay put? So it's very important, that neurotransmitter. Now, cool part is, guys, how fast do you think neurotransmitters travel? Any guesses?
100 200 kilometers per hour.
200 kilometers per hour. Well, it's actually faster than that. It's 223 miles per hour. Okay, so this is a lot. Okay, this is pretty crazy fast. Well, you said 220 kilometers, which is that would I don't know my kilometers to miles, but because kilometers, you typically have, like a 5K is only a 3-mile run. So if you had 220 kilometers, you might be actually faster than 223 miles per hour. I'd have to do the conversion there, but 223 miles per hour, guys, these are fast, like crazy fast, like faster than a cheetah. I mean, just unbelievable how quickly you're making those kinds of neurotransmissions. But if you think about it, when you when you're answering a question on a test, you're not sitting there for 10 minutes trying to think and read and make an answer, right? It happens just kind of pretty instantly. Well, that's because of neurotransmitters. They're speedy because they know that you have to be speedy. You have to get things done quickly. And neurotransmitters, guys, these travel through those axons. So these travel through this axon, this kind of long extension, this kind of like tail, you could say. That's where these neurotransmitters travel through. Now, there's another type of signal that is a little bit different, and those are called neuropeptides. And what neuropeptides do is they don't actually travel through any kind of cable. They just are sent out into the brain. They kind of float around through the fluid in the brain, and then they just land somewhere. They land at a target destination. So they don't have like a super speedy little cable to go through. They just kind of get sent out. They mosey their way around the brain, and then they end up somewhere. And it's okay. It takes a little bit longer for them to find their target and to transmit their signal, but our body does both of these things, okay? And totally okay. There's example is there is a neurotransmitter called vasopressin. Okay, don't worry about the name. But what vasopressin does is it basically controls your blood pressure. Now, it controls your blood pressure if it's sent as a neurotransmitter, if it's sent through an axon. But sometimes it just likes to hang out, hang loose, float through the brain as a neuropeptide. And it ends up in that way working to control your memory. So it actually serves two different functions. It's just released in two different ways. So the neurons like to communicate different styles. This one's obviously a lot faster on the left, this neurotransmitter, but there's nothing wrong with neuropeptides. They work just as well, and they sometimes do really quite cool things. Okay. Does that make sense, or does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, now here's another question, guys, right? Are neurons immortal? Do they live forever and ever and ever? Like, do your brain cells just keep growing and growing and growing? And can you like grow your brain? No, not really. You're born with 100 billion neurons when you're a baby. You're born with 100 billion of these guys. And typically they start kind of like this. They look like this little like tree thing over here. And then they start to get a little bit more mature. They start to grow. They start to change. And that's when they really have their own specific jobs. One neuron might be responsible for something, and another one's responsible for something else. So that kind of growth is important. They do change. But scientists have kind of debated whether or not you still keep growing brain cells after you're born. And there's some evidence for it, but really you don't grow too many. If anything, you start to lose your brain cells, okay? Because brain cells, they don't grow back. If you think about when you cut your skin, maybe you have a scab, that skin grows back, that's normal. But for our brain cells, for those neurons, they don't really grow back, okay? And that's when you see these things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And maybe you know somebody that has it, I'm not sure. But really, guys, that is when your neurons start to die or your neurons get damaged. So if you look over here at this Alzheimer's brain, you see that the neurons, like the brain is all shrunken. Well, it's lost a lot of those neurons. It's lost a lot of brain cells. And typically what happens with Alzheimer's is that it's kind of starves the neurons. It doesn't give them the right nutrients they need, and it forces them to die. So that's kind of how Alzheimer's works. And then Parkinson's, it kills off all the neurons responsible for making dopamine. And dopamine is like the feel-good chemical. So without dopamine, your body just starts to slow down. It kind of gets a little bit tired, and you might have it shaking like this, kind of picture some of these side effects. So that's really what happens when your neurons start to die, but they don't grow back, which is unfortunate. But scientists are studying different ways maybe to regenerate those neurons, which is pretty interesting. Any questions about this so far? Or you guys feel pretty good? All right, so now we are going to get to our experiment today, which I'm really excited about. This is a fun one. And this is going to be a little bit of a brain game, but you remember how I was telling you we build myelin? Remember, I'm like, oh, you're building myelin when you do things again and again and again? Well, we're going to actually build myelin today. Like, this is real. We're going to build some myelin, and I'm going to show you how you know you built it, okay? So here's how this game goes. This is a memory game. So I'm going to give you a second. Go ahead, everyone, and take out a piece of paper or a Google Doc. I'd recommend a piece of paper so you could still look at my screen, and a pen or pencil, whatever you want to write with, okay? Does everyone have that? If you don't have it, say, I don't have it, unless I'll just keep going. Okay, perfect. Everybody has it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a set of 12 pictures. We're going to go through those 12 pictures, and I want you to write. So I don't want you to write anything. I'll tell you when to start writing. But what we're going to do, we're going to go through 12 pictures, and then I'm going to say write. And you're going to write them down in the order that you saw them. So let's say, for instance, you see a Rubik's Cube, a book, and a pencil. Well, you're going to write down, once we're done with our activity and I say write, you're going to write down Rubik's Cube, book, pencil, in that order. So write down the pictures that you see in the order that you saw them. And I can guarantee you, I'm pretty certain you all are going to forget some, okay? And that's okay. I want you to write down what you do remember. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Perfect. Anyone have any questions about this before we start? No? You feel good? Give me 1 second. There's one thing. No, actually, I don't want to know. Okay. So, okay, if you have no questions, let me get my slide up here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now, remember, nobody write anything down. Just watch my screen, listen to what I have to say, watch the screen, listen to what I have to say, and I will say write. And that's when you're going to write. All right? Someone say, Ava, I'm ready, just so I know you're ready. Someone say, Ava, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. Good. Let's get started. Okay, remember, nobody write anything yet. You'll be writing soon enough. Cupcake. Cat. Playground. Fork. Flower. Sandwich. Microphone. Beach. Glasses. Banana. Marble. Ladybug. Okay, go ahead and write. When you feel like you've written everything you remember, just say, I'm done. Okay, thanks, Clarissa. You could just send me in the chat when you're done or say it. You're ready? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna then share my screen again. And what I want you to do now is find another, no, you don't have to find another piece of paper, just move down, make sure you have some more space to write. Put your pencil down for now. And we're gonna do this again with the same pictures, and we're gonna see what you remember. Okay, so go ahead and put the pencil down. I'm gonna start sharing again, okay? All right. Ready? Look at my screen. Don't write anything down. Okay, everyone put their pencil down. Just watch and listen this time. Just watch and listen. Cupcake. Cat. Playground. Fork. Flower. Sandwich. Microphone. Beach. Glasses. Banana. Marble. Ladybug. Okay, go ahead now and you can write down this time whatever you remember. Okay, so maybe it's something more, maybe it's less, but write down whatever you remember from this round. And don't combine it with your first one. I want you to put in a separate little box what you remember from this one. And same thing again, whenever you're done, you can just send me a chat or you could just unmute yourself.
I'm done.
You're done, okay. I'll give everyone like one more minute and then we'll go ahead and keep going. All right, cool. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna keep going now. Yeah, sorry, you want to, here, I'll give you one more minute.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay, perfect. So now, guys, put your pencil down. Don't do anything. And we're going to go through something again. Don't do anything until I say right. Okay. Don't do anything until I say right. All right. Just watch this. Cupcake. Cat. Playground. Fork. Flower. Sandwich. Microphone. Beach. Glasses. Banana. Marble. Ladybug. Okay. Go ahead now. You can pick up your pencil. And this time, again, in a separate little space, write down the ones that you remember. Okay. So I'm going to give you the answers, okay? And I want you to tell me how many you got in the first round, the second round, and the third round, okay? I have a guess that you're going to get the most points you're going to get is going to be by the third round. But let's check it out. Here are the answers. You tell me if you got how many, what your top score was. Let's do your top score, okay? So here are the answers. Sorry, let me just switch my screen here. Okay, here are the answers. You should have had cupcake, cat, playground, fork, flower, sandwich, microphone, beach, glasses, banana, marble, ladybug.
I would have had all those, but I didn't have time to fully write them.
Oh, you didn't have time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you ran out of time. Sorry.
I was gonna write about 15 of them.
There was only 12, Josh.
Yeah, there were 12 of them. Did anyone get all 12?
No.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Good.
I thought there was 15.
So I'm curious, can anyone tell me what their score was the first round, the second round, and then the third round? Clarissa, you want to go ahead and say it? Yeah, what did you get the first round?
So for the first round, I got cupcake, cat, playground, fork, beach, glasses, marbles, and then ladybug.
You got 8. What did you
Yeah.
get the second round? How many did you get?
The second round, I got all 12 of them.
Whoa, like that's really crazy to think about that. We didn't really change anything. I just showed you the pictures again and you got all 12. So guys, what I'm trying to show you here is you just built some myelin. So inside your brain, you just built some of those, that like gooey layer stuff. That's what you just built because you did something in a pattern. You saw the same series of pictures 3 times and you picked up on a pattern and you're able to process that pattern and write those down. So the reason you did better is because you're sending neurotransmitters faster. Remember that picture I showed you guys of the myelin, how much faster the signal went, right? That's happening right now in your brain because you are making myelin, you're making the signal faster and you're able to make those kinds of connections, which is so cool. It's crazy cool. All right.
What about the experiment?
Yeah, so that was our experiment. It was you were the experiment today. But what I want to show you guys to wrap this up really quick is how I thought about this. And I thought about it like a story. And sometimes we make a story out of these pictures, you're actually going to remember them better. You're building some more myelin than you would before. So let me just show you my screen quick, and then I'm going to let you all go, okay? So here's how I imagine this. And I told it like a story. And I'm going to tell you the story. Boy, what a crazy day it's been. Sit down, have a cupcake. Let me tell you this story. It all started with Millie the cat. As I opened the door to get the mail, she slipped out of the house. I searched through all of downtown Elmhurst to find her, and I finally saw her little tail swishing back and forth on the playground. But the weirdest part of the entire thing, Millie was carrying a little plastic fork in her mouth. As I tried to climb up the ladder to reach Millie, Millie ran away towards a squirrel hiding in a bush of flowers. Just when I got to the top of the ladder, I put my foot down on the landing and stepped in an icky sandwich. I was so grossed out, I screamed loud. Trust me, I didn't need a microphone. What a terrible day. As I cleaned up my sticky shoe, I imagined relaxing on a beach, not chasing after Millie. All right, it was time to put on my serious glasses. I was on a mission. Find the cat. As I climbed off the playground to find Millie in the bush, I slipped on a banana peel. When will I ever find her? Suddenly I had a great idea. Millie loves playing with marbles, so I pulled one out of my pocket and rolled it on the floor. Sure enough, Millie came running back to me. But not just Millie. a little ladybug was walking along her back. What a crazy day. So when I think about that, if I imagine it in a story, I remember it better. Because I think, okay, wait, what happened? Okay, I left my house. Millie had a fork in her mouth. I stuffed in a sandwich. Oh, wait a minute. I'm actually remembering some of those pictures. So it's something you guys can try when you have to remember something, putting it into a story. But everyone, give yourself a pat on the back because you just made myelin today. That's a really big deal. You made your own myelin just looking at those pictures. And I'm sure you're going to make more. Okay? So does anyone have any questions before we wrap things up? Yeah.
I was saying, could our next episode be about how do hurricanes form?
We actually did an episode on hurricanes. If you go to my YouTube channel,
which is more deadly, a tornado or a hurricane?
okay, yeah, we can look at that tornado versus hurricane.
Yes. What is a desert?
What is a desert? You want to look at that? We can look at that too. Sure. Most certainly. I'll consider those for next week and we'll see what we can make. Okay. Any questions about the neurons today? Or does that pretty much make sense?
Pretty much makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
makes sense.
All right. Well, I'm glad that everyone showed up and you guys did some brainy stuff now. Take a little break on your brain, but good work, guys. And I will see you next week. Okay. Have a great day. Have a great week, guys. I hope you learned something. Bye.
Great weekend.
Bye.
See ya.